The celebration at the Watermark Hotel was buzzing. Laughter, clinking glasses, and quiet toasts filled the lavish, dimly lit room. Delta Gulf Construction had just sealed a major post-flood rebuilding contract, and the whole team was there to celebrate. Eric Carter stood off to the side, nursing a glass of non-alcoholic punch. At 38, he wasn't big on company parties and preferred his peace. But the director insisted he come. After all, Eric played a key role in the deal. As he sipped his drink, a tipsy new hire slid into the seat beside him. David Parker, flashy ties, loud laugh, and apparently a few glasses in already. "Hey, Eric," David said, leaning in. "Can I ask something? Just don't get mad." Eric raised an eyebrow. "Depends on the question." David hesitated, then blurted, "I heard your wife used to, do some things at night. That true?" The room didn't go silent, but to Eric, it felt like it had. His spine stiffened. He'd expected rumors eventually, but hearing it said out loud still hit hard. "Who told you that?" he asked evenly. "People talk," David said with a shrug. "Just curious how you trust someone with that kind of past." Eric put down his drink and gave a thin smile. "Ever consider that people have stories you don't know? Maybe don't judge what you don't understand." David just smirked. "Most guys wouldn't be okay with it. I'm not most guys, and my wife's not just any woman." Before the tension could build, Sophia Brooks from HR stepped in. "David, I think you've had enough. Go get some air." David grumbled but backed off under Eric's glare. Sophia turned to Eric with a small, apologetic smile. "Don't mind him. He clearly doesn't know how to handle his liquor." "I'm used to whispers," Eric said, exhaling. Sophia nodded. "People talk, but the ones who matter know better. Thanks." Eric moved toward the bar for a soda and spotted Lily across the room, laughing with the company's director, Richard Stanley. She looked poised in a light blue dress, her smile soft but confident. No one here would ever guess where she came from. But Eric knew. He knew everything. They'd survived hell together. He caught her gaze. She winked. He raised his glass slightly. She smiled. It was a quiet signal between them. We were okay. He was done answering to people about her. He knew the truth. That was enough. A voice broke through his thoughts. Richard Stanley clapped him on the back. "You and Lily make one hell of a team," he said. "That idea of yours, going direct to local suppliers, it's already paying off. Keep pushing." "We will." "And I've got to say, I like seeing couples work together. It's rare. But you two pull it off." Eric gave a polite smile. "We're trying." As Richard walked off, Eric couldn't help thinking. People either admired or questioned them. But no one knew the real story. No one knew how it all began. Not yet. 2 years earlier, West Baton Rouge, Eric Carter sat on the porch of the house he'd bought before marriage, soaking in the quiet sunset. The neighborhood was calm. Retirees, civil servants, stillness. He loved that about it. Peace. Simplicity. Back then, he still believed in forever. Michelle, his wife, did too. Or pretended to. Lately, though, she seemed distant. Restless. Always saying she was bored, that she wanted more. Trips to salons, shopping, a gym membership, and money for all of it. When Eric gently suggested she find a job, she scoffed at the idea of being tied to a schedule. Something in her had changed. Their neighbor Brad, 40-something, smug, started making casual remarks about how Michelle was a real catch who knew her worth. Eric brushed it off at first, but a seed of suspicion took root. One evening, Michelle called from the kitchen. "Eric, we need to talk." He stepped inside. She was leaning on the counter, lip between her teeth. "I need space," she blurted out. "I want more out of life. Clubs, restaurants, a real social life. Not just you working late and me sitting here bored." Eric kept calm, but it stung. He worked hard to provide, and now it wasn't enough? "I get it," he said, "but I can't stop working." "I don't care about your job," she snapped. "I want to feel alive." That night, they slept in separate rooms. The days that followed only drove them further apart. Michelle was out more often, vague about where or with whom. Eric noticed new names in her call history. He didn't push, tried to stay rational. Brad got bolder. One day, he smirked at Eric and asked, "You sure your lady's not getting lonely?" Eric clenched his jaw but didn't bite. Still, doubt crept in. Needing clarity, Eric called his old friend Mark over for a drink. They sat in the dim light of the living room, and Eric finally spoke the thing he'd been avoiding. "I think Michelle's cheating." Mark didn't sugarcoat it. "You sure?" "No, but she's cold lately, always gone, and Brad's always around." Mark nodded. "You could watch her, or confront her, but if it's true, You'll need to decide what kind of man you are. Eric nodded slowly. He didn't want to believe it, but something was off. The final straw came a few days later. He found a man's comb in the bathroom. Dark blue LSU logo, not hers. Brad's a die-hard LSU fan. That night, Eric sat in the dark on the porch, fury bubbling under the surface. He'd given Michelle everything: comfort, security, a home. And now it all felt like it was slipping away. Then came the moment of truth. A canceled meeting freed up his afternoon. On impulse, he drove home early. It was hot, the air buzzing with cicadas. But when he saw Brad's car in the driveway, the heat inside him exploded. He slipped in quietly. The living room was cool and bright, but from down the hall, soft, unmistakable sounds. He already knew. Pushing open the bedroom door, he found them. Michelle and Brad, tangled in each other, sheets barely covering them. And just like that, the truth hit him in full, shattering everything he'd built. Eric froze. His first instinct was to charge Brad and beat the hell out of him, but he didn't. Maybe it was shock, maybe pride. Instead, he just stood there, eyes burning. "What the hell?" he finally muttered. Michelle sat up, annoyed more than ashamed. "You're supposed to be at work." Brad stood unfazed, not even bothering to cover himself. "Hey, neighbor. Didn't expect you this early." Eric closed his eyes for a second. When he opened them, everything inside him had gone cold. "So this is real. You're sleeping with him, in my house." Michelle rolled her eyes, throwing on a robe. "I'm tired of pretending everything's fine. I need more than this boring routine. I need a man who makes me feel alive." Brad smirked. "Don't take it personally, man. You left her starving. She just wanted a little excitement." Eric's fists clenched, but he didn't move. The air stank of perfume, sweat, and betrayal. His bedroom, the one he built with love, now felt like a crime scene. "This is over," he said, voice flat. Michelle shrugged. "Good. You and your perfect little life were suffocating." He didn't respond, just looked around the ruined space, rumpled sheets, Brad's shirt on the floor, the smell of them everywhere. Then he turned and walked out. He barely heard her yelling behind him. In the car, Eric sat in silence, hands trembling. Rage throbbed in his chest. Humiliation burned in his gut. He drove aimlessly until he landed at a roadside motel, the kind with dim lights and old carpets. He collapsed onto the bed and stared at the ceiling, mind racing. No apology, no shame. Michelle hadn't just cheated. She mocked him for it, called him boring. Said Brad was a real man. The love he had for her was gone, burned out in seconds. All that was left was fury. He reached for his phone and called his lawyer. "Jeremy, I need divorce papers. Today." The voice on the other end was surprised. "You sure?" "Positive. The prenup protects me. The house is mine. She gets nothing." She might push back. "Let her. Just move fast." Jeremy agreed to have everything ready by morning. Eric hung up, dropped the phone on the nightstand, and buried his face in his hands. He needed to hurt her back, make her feel the sting of betrayal. Revenge wasn't noble. It wasn't mature. But he didn't care. She wanted fun. He'd give her a show. By the next day, Eric had already signed the initial divorce papers. At lunch, he sat in a corner booth of a cafe near his lawyer's office, laptop open, heart pounding. What he was about to do felt sickening, but he kept going. He pulled up a local escort site, pages full of cheap photos and suggestive headlines. He scrolled through faces blurred and bodies half-dressed, a war inside him, disgust, resolve, shame. He stopped at one profile. Name? Kelly, a silhouette in heels and lingerie. Price, $200 per hour. Services, listed as company or private entertainment. He dialed. A woman answered. "Hey, baby. You're still doing appointments?" "Yep. What are you looking for?" "I want someone at my place tonight. 8 o'clock. He gave her his address and name. There was a pause. "Eric, got it. She'll be there." Click. Eric sat there, feeling like he'd just sunk into the mud, but he told himself it had to be done. Michelle would come by to grab her stuff. He'd made sure of it. She still thought she had some claim on the house, still acted like she owned the space. She'd see what betrayal really felt like. She wanted chaos? He'd show her how it ends. At exactly 8 p.m., there was a knock on the door. Eric's pulse spiked as he opened it, only to freeze in shock. Standing there wasn't some anonymous escort in stilettos. It was Lily Hanson, his office's soft-spoken secretary. Dressed in jeans, a simple blouse, and a windbreaker, she looked more like someone headed to the grocery store than this. "Lily?" he said, stunned. She blinked, pale. "Oh my God, Eric! I didn't know. It didn't say who, just an address." They stood there in stunned silence. Lily clutched her bag like it might protect her. Please don't tell anyone at work. I wasn't supposed to see someone I knew. Eric stepped aside and gently shut the door behind her. This is insane. I should go, she said quickly, already backing toward the exit. Wait, please, Eric stopped her. I wasn't expecting you either, but maybe this works. Her brows furrowed. Works? I need your help, he said. It's not what you think. My wife cheated on me with our neighbor in our bed. I want her to walk in here and feel what I felt. That's it. She hesitated, her face conflicted. This is just revenge? Yes, I'll still pay you whatever we agreed. You don't have to do anything intimate. Just make it look bad. Lily looked down, struggling internally. Only because I need the money. But if you say one word about this at work, I won't, Eric promised. And I'll pay you more, 300 an hour. Fine, she whispered. But this is just a performance. He nodded. Exactly, just until she shows up. They moved into the living room. Lily glanced around, visibly uncomfortable. Eric tried not to think about the surreal moment, his coworker standing in his house pretending to be his whatever. How do we stage this? She asked, arms crossed. She usually drops by to pick up her things. She could walk in any minute. We'll be on the couch, close, suggestive. Lily exhaled slowly. Okay, just tell me where to sit. Before they could finalize their pose, tires crunched outside. Eric peeked through the window. She's here. You ready? Lily nodded, tense. The front door burst open. Michelle stepped in with a bag, spotted them on the couch, and stopped cold. The bag hit the floor, spilling makeup and clothes. What the hell is this? She hissed. Eric stood and met her glare. Hey, you're early? Michelle's face twisted with fury. You hired a hoe? In our house? It's not our house, he said calmly. It's mine. I bought it before the wedding, remember? And we both signed that prenup. Michelle's eyes flicked to Lily and widened. Wait, that's your secretary. You've got to be kidding me. Lily started to rise, but Eric gestured for her to stay seated. After you slept with Brad, I figured we were way past pretending. Our marriage died the moment I saw you with him. Michelle's voice cracked with rage. You think this makes you better? Brad gave me what you never could. Attention, passion. Eric didn't flinch. Great. Now go enjoy your real man. But before you leave, those papers on the table, sign them. You're done here. You're kicking me out? She spat. Onto the street? You'll figure it out. Maybe Brad has a spare room. She stood frozen, realization sinking in. You're disgusting. I learned from the best, Eric said with a cold smile. Now you know how it feels. Michelle stood frozen, jaw clenched, her eyes darting between them. Then, like something inside her snapped, she stormed toward Lily. You little witch. You work with him, right? Thought you'd grab your shot while things fell apart? Lily flinched, but said nothing. Eric stepped in. Back off, he said coldly. Who I bring into my house isn't your concern anymore. Michelle scoffed. Sure, date whoever you want. Just don't whine when she screws you over too. That one hit, but Eric didn't let it show. Leave, he said quietly. Take your stuff and go. This is still my house, she shouted, voice echoing through the room. No, it's not, Eric replied, pointing to the divorce papers. I bought it before we were married. You signed the prenup. Don't waste time fighting something you already lost. She wavered, rage burning, but the reality setting in. With shaking hands, she stuffed clothes into her bag. I'm leaving, she muttered, but you'll regret this. Say hi to Brad, Eric said flatly. Maybe he can help you find a new real man. Michelle looked like she might lunge at someone, but instead she glared at Lily, then turned and slammed the door hard enough to rattle the windows. The silence afterward was suffocating. Eric let out a slow breath. His heart was pounding like he'd just run a mile. Lily stood by the window, tense and silent, fingers curled around her purse strap like a lifeline. I'm sorry, he said, voice low. You shouldn't have been part of that. Lily didn't turn. I said yes, so it's on me, but that was brutal. He nodded. I hated every second of it, but I needed her to feel what I did. She was quiet for a moment, then asked softly, You're paying lawyers and filing papers. Why the show? Because she ripped my heart out and didn't flinch, Eric said. I know it's petty, it just hurt. They stood in the awkward space between everything that just happened and everything they hadn't said. Finally, Lily picked up her purse. I should go. Wait, Eric said. Before you leave, can I ask something? She looked over her shoulder. Why are you doing this? The escort stuff, I mean. You have a job. Lily hesitated, then sighed. It's not a short story. I've got time, he said. You want coffee? Tea? There's leftover pizza. After a long pause, she nodded. Okay, I need to catch my breath anyway. They moved to the kitchen. Eric fumbled with the oven while Lily leaned against the counter, clearly still shaken. The house, once warm and inviting, now felt heavy, tainted by what had just happened. I'm not much of a cook, Eric admitted, but frozen pizza's reliable. It's fine, she said. I just need something in my stomach. While it heated, she returned to the couch, the same one they'd staged the scene on. A minute later, he joined her, handing her a can of soda. They sat in tense silence until Lily finally spoke. You wanted to know, so here goes. Eric gave her his full attention. I'm from a small town near the coast. My parents refused to evacuate during Katrina. Said they couldn't leave the house they built their whole lives. She paused, eyes far away. When the waters came, they didn't make it out. My little sister Amelia and I went to live with my great aunt. A year later, she died too. Stroke. Eric swallowed hard, already knowing where this was going. I moved to Baton Rouge. Got a secretary job. Thought things might finally stabilize. Amelia started school, but then she got sick. Leukemia. Oh, God, Eric murmured. Lily nodded. Insurance didn't cover everything. I was drowning in bills. I tried waitressing, part-time gigs. It wasn't enough. She gripped the soda can tighter. A friend suggested I could escort, just for events. No closeness. At first, that's what I did. But eventually, the offers changed. And I had to choose my pride or her life. Eric felt a weight in his chest. You did it for your sister. I'd do anything for her, Lily said. Even things that make me sick inside. I cried after every job. But I didn't have time to feel sorry for myself. Did you try charities, foundations? I did. A few helped, but not nearly enough. And the red tape? We didn't have time. Eric looked at her, seeing her completely differently now. Not as someone who'd agreed to help him in a desperate moment, but as someone carrying an unimaginable burden alone. I'm sorry, he said, and meant it. Lily gave him a tired smile. Most days, I just try not to fall apart. Eric leaned back in his chair and exhaled. He knew how brutal the American healthcare system could be, without insurance or a hefty savings account. You were stuck between desperation and disaster. I'm terrified someone at work will find out, Lily said quietly. Especially Richard. He might pity me, but I doubt he'd offer real help. People don't hand out 50 grand to their employees. Eric thought about how Lily had always flown under the radar at the office. Quiet. Professional. Now he understood why. I get it, he said gently, placing a hand on her shoulder. She looked down, ashamed. If I don't find the money soon, my sister won't survive. The doctors say time's running out. How much exactly? 50,000. And that's just for the surgery, not the follow-ups or meds. Everything I earn goes to rent and bills. Eric nodded slowly, feeling the weight of it. You tried the banks? They won't lend me that much. No collateral. Bad odds. The oven beeped, signaling the pizza was ready. Eric stood up. Let's eat something. We need it. He brought the food over, but neither of them had much appetite. Lily picked at her slice while Eric stared into his plate. Look, he said carefully, if you'll let me, I can help with the money. I've got savings, or I can take out a loan with better terms. No, she interrupted, firm but grateful. I appreciate it, I really do, but I can't accept that kind of money from you. It's too much. It's for your sister. I know, but accepting help like that, it makes me feel powerless, like I've failed her. Eric fell silent. He understood, even if he didn't like it. She needed space, not pressure. Still, he couldn't shake the thought that there had to be another way. Okay, he said finally. I won't say anything at work, but if you change your mind, even tomorrow I'm here. Lily exhaled. That means a lot. More than you know. They tried to shift the conversation to lighter things, but it kept drifting back to her life, her dreams of becoming a teacher, how Amelia always talked about going to college if she beat the cancer. Eventually, Lily said, You wanted to stage a scene for your wife. Looks like it worked. Yeah, Eric said, almost laughing. Now what? I guess she's gone for good. She might go after alimony. No kids, and the prenup's ironclad. She gets nothing. That's sad. Yeah, he said quietly. And I never thought this would be my life. When dinner ended, Eric offered to drive her home, but she declined. I've got my car. I parked down the block so the neighbors wouldn't see. Is it okay if I go? Of course, he said, walking her to the door. Thanks again. Sorry for dragging you into all this. She gave him a small, tired smile. Take care, Eric, and if anything comes up, you've got my number. She disappeared into the night, leaving behind the scent of someone else's perfume and the memory of Michelle's screaming exit. Eric stood alone in the hallway, staring at the door. All he could think about was Lily, her sister, her strength, her pain. Life's strange, he thought. Sometimes the person carrying the most pain hides it best. A few days later, Eric woke to a quiet, empty house. Michelle had come and gone, clearing out her things and leaving behind only a note on the kitchen counter. Congrats, bastard, but I'm not done yet. You'll see who wins in the end. He crumpled the note and tossed it in the trash. The day passed in a blur of legal errands and meetings. But even as he sat in his lawyer's office or stared at spreadsheets, Lily kept slipping into his thoughts. Her situation haunted him. Later that day, while walking down the office hallway, he spotted her at the copy machine. Hair pulled back, skirt neatly pressed, eyes focused. From the outside, she looked like any other employee, calm, professional. Hey, Lily, he said softly, keeping his voice low. She glanced at him. Hey, don't worry. Everything's fine. I was wondering, would you meet me for coffee after work? She hesitated. Are you sure that's a good idea? I just want to talk, nothing more. Okay, 6 o'clock. Coffee call on Government Street. Perfect. At 6 sharp, they met at the cafe. The smell of fresh beignets and coffee filled the air. They sat by the window with 2 cappuccinos and a plate of pastries between them. Thanks for coming, Eric said quietly. I owed you a conversation, Lily replied, and maybe an apology for getting dragged into that mess. You don't owe me anything. He hesitated, then leaned forward. I've been thinking. There might be another way to help with Amelia. I have some savings. Or maybe Richard could help. He has connections, knows people in city government and healthcare. He might know of a foundation or a fast-track way to get support. Lily looked down, hands wrapped around her cup. Eric added, if you can't take the money from me directly, let me at least talk to him on your behalf. No one has to know anything else. Lily hesitated, biting her lip, torn between shame and hope. All right, she said softly, but be discreet. I don't want the office whispering behind my back. Of course, Eric assured her. I'll just tell Richard someone I know needs urgent surgery. I'll ask if he can pull some strings. Okay, she nodded. And if you really want to help, I'll write down my account info, just in case. She scribbled the details on a napkin, hesitating before sliding it over. Nearby, a group of LSU students laughed loudly about the upcoming Tigers game. For a moment, the warm Baton Rouge evening felt like any other, until Eric remembered why they were here. Lily was desperate, and he couldn't ignore it. I'll talk to him tomorrow, he said. Let's see what happens. Thank you, she whispered. They finished their coffee and beignets. As Lily stood to leave, she said, I should get back to Amelia. The nurse is with her, but I want to be there. Want me to drive you? I've got my car parked around the corner. Okay, take care, Lily. They parted with a nod. Over the next 2 weeks, Eric kept his word. He spoke to Richard, who tapped into his network. They secured partial funding from a charity, and a top hospital agreed to take Amelia's case on short notice. Eric also wired a quiet donation into Lily's account. No questions, no conditions. By Friday, the surgery was scheduled. Amelia had been admitted, and Lily stayed by her side, barely sleeping, only stepping away to keep her job. That morning, Eric called. How's she doing? She's asleep, Lily said, her voice strained. The doctor said this is her only shot. I'll be there. You don't have to. I want to. She gave him the hospital address. He cleared his schedule and drove straight there. The hospital halls were sterile and cold, the air thick with antiseptic. Eric found Lily in a plastic chair, clutching her bag, eyes red and hollow. I'm scared, she whispered. She's in good hands, he said, though fear clawed at him too. She's so weak. They said the anesthesia might be too much. He pulled her gently into a hug as a nurse approached. Miss Hanson, it's time. You'll need to wait in the family area. Lily nodded and stood dazed. They watched as Amelia was wheeled away, small, pale, fragile. Please, Eric thought, let her make it. The hours dragged. Lily paced the corridor, refusing coffee. Eric tried to stay calm, but dread hung over everything like fog. Finally, the operating room doors opened. A doctor stepped out, his expression grim. "Miss Hanson, I'm very sorry. Her heart gave out before we could begin. There was internal bleeding. We couldn't save her." Lily stared at him, frozen. Then her knees gave out. She collapsed, sobbing, her hands over her face. Eric dropped beside her, wrapping his arms around her as she trembled in grief. "Amelia? No!" she gasped, her voice breaking, her sister's name the only thing she could say. The doctor bowed his head. Nurses helped Lily to a private room. Eric stayed nearby, helpless. Later, when they let Lily see the body, she held Amelia's cold hand and whispered through tears, "I'm sorry. I couldn't save you. Please forgive me. Mom, Dad, take care of her." Eric stood silently at a distance, his own eyes burning. He remembered that same unbearable weight from when he lost his parents. And he knew there are no words that ease that kind of pain. A few days later, under gray skies, they buried Amelia in a small cemetery outside the city. Only a handful of friends came. Eric stayed at Lily's side the entire time, holding her up when grief threatened to drop her to the ground. She didn't say much, but she didn't need to. Eric stayed because she didn't have anyone else, and because somewhere deep inside, he didn't want to leave her alone either. After the funeral, when the crowd had thinned and the sky turned a deeper gray, Lily stood silently by the grave, staring at the fresh soil like it might give her back what she'd lost. Eric stayed close but quiet, giving her space to grieve. Eventually, she turned to him, her voice low. "Do you get it now, Eric? I'm alone." He didn't speak. He just pulled her into a hug, held her tight, and let her cry. The wind moved through the cemetery, rustling the trees. Nothing else moved. Amelia's death crushed Lily. In the days that followed, she vanished from work, barely left the apartment. Eric checked in daily, calls, texts, gentle reminders that he was still there. "If you need anything, I mean it. I'm not going anywhere." She didn't answer at first. Then a week later, she walked back into the office, pale, quiet, thinner, but upright. Eric found her at her desk. "You sure you don't want more time?" he asked gently. She shook her head. "I need the distraction. Sitting at home is worse." He respected that. After work, he offered her a ride home, and this time she said yes. "I'm sorry," she murmured as they drove. "You didn't sign up to carry my mess." "It's not a mess," he said. "We're friends, right?" She gave him a small smile. "Yeah, friends." Her apartment was small and worn down, an old building in Baton Rouge's quieter side. Inside, it was sparse. A tired sofa, a coffee table, a few faded photos on the wall. One showed two teenage girls with an older couple, Lily and Amelia with their parents. "Juice or water?" she offered. "Juice is good." They sat, sipping quietly. The weight of everything still hung in the air. He tried to steer the conversation toward work, but her answers were short. Eventually, she opened up. "Sophia from HR asked if I wanted to see a therapist," she said. "Maybe you should. Doesn't make you weak, just human." "I know, I'll think about it." They talked a little longer. Eric watched her closely. Beneath the grief, she still had a strength he admired. And somewhere along the line, his support stopped being just kindness. It had become something more. "Lily," he said quietly, "you did everything you could. None of this is on you." Her lip trembled. "I know, but it still feels like I failed her." "You didn't," he said, gently taking her hand. "You fought for her until the end." They sat in silence for a while, hands still touching, the stillness speaking more than words. Finally, Lily whispered, "Thank you. I don't think I would have made it without you." "I'm just trying to be here," he said. "Whatever you need." She stood and hugged him tightly. "You're a good man, Eric, even if you don't always believe it." He didn't reply, but inside something shifted. For the first time in a long while, he felt steady, like maybe he was finally healing. From then on, they saw each other more often. Lunches, coffee after work, walks around the lake. Slowly, Lily emerged from her grief. She laughed again, smiled more, even started teasing coworkers, and Richard gave her a small bonus, which Eric suspected he had quietly helped make happen. Whispers about the two of them started to float around the office, but neither of them cared. They found peace in each other's company. One Friday evening, Eric showed up at Lily's place unannounced, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers. She opened the door in jeans and an LSU Tigers t-shirt, her hair pulled up in a messy ponytail. "Eric!" She blinked in surprise. "You didn't say you were coming." "I wanted it to be a surprise." He held out the flowers. For you, she smiled, a little shy. They're beautiful. Come in. I'll find a vase. The apartment had changed. Cozier, a few pillows on the couch, a framed photo of Lily and Amelia as kids on the wall. When she returned, setting the vase on the table, Eric spoke up. Let's go out. A real date. No work talk. No heavy stuff, just you and me. She looked startled, then smiled, cheeks coloring. A date? Dinner, a walk, a movie. Whatever you want, I just want to be with you. No agenda. I'd like that, she said softly, but I'm not sure I have anything fancy to wear. You don't need fancy. You're already perfect, she laughed quietly. Give me half an hour. Take your time, he said, settling by the window. As he looked out at the quiet Baton Rouge street, something fluttered inside him. An excitement he hadn't felt in years. With Michelle, everything had been rushed and messy, but this felt different. This felt right. Lily didn't keep him waiting long. When she stepped out, she wore a light white dress with tiny flowers and simple sandals. Her hair, usually tied back for work, now flowed over her shoulders. She looked soft, real. Nothing like the guarded woman at the office. How do I look? She asked, a little shy. Eric smiled. You look beautiful. They headed to Bosalil, a coastal restaurant known for its Louisiana dishes. Eric got the jambalaya. Lily chose shrimp in a spicy Cajun sauce. Over dinner, they chatted casually, work gossip, old stories, small jokes that kept the air light. But eventually, Eric leaned in. Lily, I know it's not easy to talk about, but are you done with that other part of your life? She paused, then nodded. Yes, after Amelia, I stopped everything. I still have debt, but thanks to you and Richard, I had enough for the surgery. I don't need to chase that anymore. It was never a choice I wanted to make. I'm proud of you, he said quietly. That took strength. Their eyes met. He gently reached across the table and took her hand. We've both been through hell. Maybe that's what brought us here. Lily smiled faintly. It's been a long time since I went out with someone just to enjoy a meal. They finished with lemon pie and ice cream. By the time they stepped outside, the night had settled over Baton Rouge. The air was warm and still, thick with the scent of summer. Eric glanced at her. Want to walk the riverfront? She nodded. I'd like that. They strolled the Mississippi Riverwalk, lights from the water glinting beneath their feet. Eric took her hand. She didn't pull away. Lily, he said, voice low. I care about you, more than a friend should. But I get it if you're not ready. She stopped. I'm scared, Eric. Scared of trusting again, of losing someone again. He looked at her with quiet intensity. I can't promise the future, but I can promise this. I'm here, and I want to make you happy. Lily didn't answer. She stepped closer and kissed him, soft and slow, like a door quietly opening after years of being locked. Weeks passed. Their relationship deepened slowly, gently. No pressure, no expectations, just shared moments, laughter, support, healing. But in the background, Eric's divorce was dragging on. His lawyer, Jeremy, told him Michelle was resisting, trying to dispute the prenup. She didn't have much of a case, but she was stalling. Then one afternoon, Eric got a call from an unknown number. Eric? A familiar voice asked. He clenched his jaw. Michelle, I'd like to meet, just for a talk. I thought we were speaking through lawyers. Please, just half an hour. French truck coffee, tonight. He considered hanging up, but curiosity won. 7 o'clock, he said and hung up. Michelle was already at the cafe, staring into a latte. She looked tired. Her polished appearance was gone, just jeans and a t-shirt now. Hey, she said. Talk, Eric replied, sitting across from her. She took a breath. Brad left me. Turns out I was never anything more than a thrill for him. The second he realized you were serious about divorce, he lost interest. Eric didn't flinch. Not shocking. I was wrong, Eric. I thought I'd find something better, but now I've got nothing. No home, no job, no money. That's called consequences. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. A huge one. You could have said that in a text. I wanted to see you. I was hoping maybe we still have a chance. Eric let out a dry laugh. We did until you threw it away. There's no going back. She looked down. I know I sound pathetic, but we were something once. We were. We're not anymore. Tears welled in her eyes. Are you seeing someone? He didn't hesitate. Yes, and she's everything you're not. Honest. Strong. Michelle lowered her head. So that's it? It was over the day you chose someone else. He stood, tossing some cash on the table. Have a coffee, then move on. And he walked out. Later that night, he sat on Lily's couch, quiet. She sensed something. Michelle? He nodded. She begged me to come back. And? I told her no, I meant it, but it still felt ugly seeing her like that. Lily took his hand. You did the right thing. Now let's focus on what's ahead. He smiled. You mean like spending the weekend together, movie, dinner, something normal? She laughed. Yeah, like close people do. Sounds perfect. She leaned into him and he wrapped his arm around her, and in that still quiet moment, Eric finally felt at peace. Saturday morning, sunlight filtered through soft gray curtains, casting a calm glow across the room. Eric stirred, blinking into the light. The quiet hum of birdsong floated in from outside, and the air smelled faintly of coffee and toast. He smiled when he noticed Lily's side of the bed was empty. Normally, she liked to sleep in, curled up under the covers with her face buried in the pillow. But today, she was already up. He stretched, feeling more rested than he had in weeks, and followed the warm scent downstairs. In the kitchen, Lily stood at the stove, wearing his oversized t-shirt and a light robe, flipping something in a pan. She turned and greeted him with a soft smile, the kind that settled deep in his chest. Good morning, she said, motioning to a plate of toast. Today I'm playing hostess. Hope you don't mind. Not one bit, he said, stepping closer. I'm getting spoiled, and I'm fine with it. She laughed. Coffee's ready. Help yourself. He grabbed 2 mugs, poured them both, and glanced at the table. Napkins, butter, everything neatly arranged. It was a small gesture, but one that showed how much she cared. Just months ago, Lily had been drowning in grief. Now here she was, creating warmth in his home. Her presence filled the space with something new, something whole. You look beautiful, Eric said, watching her move around the kitchen, hair tousled from sleep. Oh, please, she smirked. I look like a mess. You look like someone starting fresh, he replied. They sat at the table, toast, bacon, eggs, hot coffee between them. Eric looked at her, and it hit him. This wasn't just comfort or chemistry. This was love, quiet, real, steady love. Lily, he said gently, I've been thinking, maybe it's time you moved in. She froze mid-bite, surprised. Really? I know it's soon, but it already feels like you live here. You stay over, we shop together, make plans. I don't want to pressure you, just letting you know what I'd like. She set her fork down. I figured you might ask. And honestly, I've been thinking about it too. I just need to pack up my place and end the lease, but yeah, I think I'm ready. Eric smiled. We'll take it slow, 1 box at a time. Later that afternoon, they drove to Lily's apartment to see what needed moving. The radio played soft oldies, and Lily rested her hand on his leg. As they pulled up, she glanced out the window and whispered, I think my parents and Amelia would be happy for me. He gave her hand a squeeze. I know they would. Inside her small place, she pointed out books, photo frames, and personal keepsakes she wanted to bring. An old LSU poster hung above a desk. A few framed photos of her and Amelia still sat on the nightstand. I wanted to be a teacher once, she said. Dropped out because we couldn't afford it. You still can, Eric said. Online classes, night school, whatever it takes, I'll support you. Lily smiled, touched. You've already done so much, sometimes I get scared. Like, maybe happiness isn't supposed to last. Eric turned to face her. Don't think like that. We've both seen what pain looks like, but this is real, and we're not alone anymore. She leaned into him, tears brimming. Not from sorrow, but from hope. They stood together in the quiet, surrounded by boxes and old memories. And in that stillness, a new thought bloomed. Maybe this was the beginning of something permanent. Not just love, but home. Nearly 3 years had passed since Lily moved in with Eric, and their life together had settled into a quiet rhythm. Grocery runs, shared dinners, inside jokes about work. At the Delta Gulf office, everyone saw them as a couple, but no one judged. They worked hard, kept drama out of the workplace, and even Sophia from HR once shrugged and said, as long as no one's getting hurt. In late May, their company hosted a lakeside picnic. The weather was perfect. Warm sun, a light breeze, green grass stretching toward the water. Families showed up with kids and dogs. Eric and Lily brought salads and drinks, joined the games, laughed through frisbee tosses and grilled steaks. It felt easy, normal. But just as everyone settled in for dinner, Eric surprised everyone. He asked for the mic. Lily raised an eyebrow, unsure what he was up to. Standing in front of the group, Eric took a breath. I just want to say something that isn't about work. He turned to Lily. We've been through a lot. Life didn't make it easy. But I've learned something. Without you, none of this means anything. And then, from his pocket, he pulled a small box and opened it. Lily Hanson, will you marry me? Lily covered her mouth, eyes welling. She stood, walked straight to him, and before she could even say yes, she was in his arms. When he finally lifted her face, she whispered, "Yes, yes, Eric, I will." The crowd erupted in cheers. Sophia smiled. Richard shook his hand. Even the quietest co-workers clapped. On the drive home, Lily kept staring at the ring like it might disappear. "I never thought you'd propose, especially at a company picnic." "I wanted everyone to know how proud I am to be with you," Eric said. That night, they curled up on the couch, exhausted and glowing. "I used to dream about a big wedding," Lily said. "But now I just want something simple, intimate, real." Eric nodded. "Same here. I've done flashy before. It didn't mean anything." So they planned a small ceremony for 2 months later. Just close friends, a modest venue, live music. Sophia helped with the dress. Lily invited an old college friend. Eric asked Mark, the one who'd once told him to keep his guard up. On the day of the wedding, the weather was perfect. Lily stood in front of the mirror, wearing a simple white dress, remembering the days she thought her life had ended. But today, everything felt new. At a small church, Eric waited with a bouquet of white roses. When Lily walked in, his breath caught. "You're beautiful," he whispered. They exchanged vows before a small group of loved ones. Lily choked up talking about how Eric saved her from loneliness. Eric said she taught him how to trust again. When the priest asked if they promised to stay together, they answered in unison, "Yes." Later, at a nearby restaurant, Richard raised a toast. "I've never seen two people grow stronger together the way you have," Sophia added. "You've turned each other's flaws into strengths." Mark smiled at Eric. "Told you she'd be different." That night, Eric and Lily danced to a slow, soft melody. She leaned in and whispered, "Thank you for helping me believe again." He pulled her closer. "Thank you for giving me a reason to." Married life didn't change much. They still worked side by side, still shared lunches and laughter. But now, there were rings on their fingers and a new steadiness in the air. Lily bought photo frames for the house. The centerpiece was a wedding photo, both of them smiling, full of light, and finally everything felt like home. About 6 months into their marriage, Lily started noticing small changes. Her appetite shifted. She felt nauseous most mornings, and her period was late. At first, she chalked it up to stress. But one quiet morning, while Eric was still asleep, she took a pregnancy test. 2 lines. Her heart raced. She sat down on the edge of the tub, clutching the test, trying to process what it meant. Pregnant, I am going to be a mom. A mix of joy, fear, and disbelief washed over her. She thought of her own childhood, of Amelia, of all she'd lost, and now, life growing inside her. Later that morning, Eric woke to find Lily standing nervously, hands behind her back. "Eric," she said softly, "I need to show you something." He looked confused until she handed him the test. He blinked, then stared. 2 lines. "Are you serious? Lily, are you pregnant?" She nodded, eyes brimming. "I took a few." They all said the same thing. Without a word, Eric pulled her into his arms. His heartbeat echoed hers. When he finally spoke, it was a whisper. "This is amazing. If you're happy, then I'm over the moon." "I'm happy," she said, "but scared too. I've never done this. What if I mess it up?" "You won't," he reassured her. "We'll do it together, and we've got good doctors, savings, support. You're not alone." A visit to the clinic confirmed the news. Lily was 6 weeks along. The doctor advised her to rest, eat well, and stay calm. Back home, Eric suggested they celebrate. "Pizza?" He grinned. Lily laughed, rubbing her stomach. "Maybe something lighter. The smell alone might send me running." So they made chicken broth, and something shifted between them. They were no longer just partners. They were going to be parents. The first trimester wasn't easy. Lily battled morning sickness that sometimes crept into evenings. Eric stepped up, cooking, adjusting her schedule with help from Richard, even getting her approved to work from home. At work, reactions were mixed. Some coworkers offered kind words, others whispered behind her back, but Richard stood by her. "Good employees deserve support," he said simply. As her belly grew, so did their excitement. One night, Eric brought home baby catalogs. They sat on the couch, flipping through cribs, paint colors, and strollers. "What if we do neutral colors?" he said, pointing to a mint green nursery. I love that, Lily smiled. And we'll add details when we know the gender. Have you thought of names? He hesitated. If it's a girl, maybe Amelia. Only if you're okay with it. Her throat tightened. I was thinking the same. Thank you. A few weeks later, they had an ultrasound appointment. Eric held Lily's hand as the doctor moved the probe across her stomach. There's your baby, the doctor said. And it looks like it's a girl. Lily teared up. Eric kissed her forehead. Back at home, she pulled out a photo of her sister and whispered, Your name will live on, Melly. Watch over her. Every night after that, Eric talked to Lily's belly like it could hear him. Hi, baby, it's Dad. We love you. Lily used to giggle, but eventually it warmed her heart. They prepared slowly, setting up a crib, filling the closet with tiny clothes, painting the walls. Lily took maternity leave. Eric rearranged work so he wouldn't miss anything. Then one night, it happened. Lily woke with contractions. Eric rushed her to the hospital, hand in hers, trying to stay calm even as she squeezed it hard enough to bruise. Labor lasted for hours. Lily screamed. Eric stayed by her side, wiping her forehead, whispering encouragement. Just before dawn, they heard it. The sharp, loud cry of a newborn girl. Here's your daughter, the nurse said. Lily, exhausted, reached for her baby. She held her close, tears sliding down her cheeks. Hello, Amelia, she whispered. The first few weeks were a blur of diapers, feedings, and sleepless nights, but they didn't mind. Every moment with their daughter was a reminder that life had found them again. Tiny fingers, sleepy cries, late-night lullabies. Amelia became the bright light that softened the shadows of their past. And for the first time in a long time, Lily and Eric felt whole. A few months after their daughter was born, Lily and Eric finally found a rhythm. Amelia was sleeping better, and they could do things like run errands together again. On a sunny Saturday, they headed to a big shopping center in Baton Rouge to pick up baby supplies and groceries. Lily wore Amelia snugly in a sling, the baby's tiny head resting against her chest. Eric pushed the cart, going over their list. They looked like any new parents, tired but happy. While Eric stopped to check a sale in the cleaning aisle, Lily walked toward the cosmetic section to grab shampoo. As she turned a corner, her eyes landed on the checkout area and froze. Michelle, Eric's ex-wife, stood behind a register, scanning items with a hollow stare. Her face looked worn, hair dull, uniform oversized. She looked like a woman life had worn down. Lily stood there, stunned. She hadn't thought about Michelle in ages. After the divorce, she'd vanished. Now, here she was, working retail, alone. Their eyes met. Michelle blinked, recognition flashing across her face. First shock, then bitterness, and finally something that looked like defeat. Without a word, she stepped out from behind the register and removed her apron. Lily, she said, voice low and scratchy. Did you come to show off? Lily looked down at the sleeping baby against her chest, then met Michelle's eyes. No, we're just here for diapers. Michelle's gaze dropped to the child. That's his daughter? Yes, Lily replied gently. Her name is Amelia. Michelle's expression tightened. She gave a short, sad laugh. Of course. You got it all, didn't you? I guess I let the good one slip away. Lily didn't reply. She didn't feel angry. She didn't feel smug, just tired. The past was standing in front of her, broken. I hope things turn around for you, she said quietly. Maybe something better will come along. Michelle shrugged. Maybe. Is he here? He's in the next aisle. I'd rather not see him. Her manager appeared in the background, eyeing her curiously. Michelle backed away. Tell him. Actually, never mind. With that, she turned and walked back to her register. Lily returned to Eric, who was already halfway through diaper shopping. Find your shampoo? He asked. She hesitated. I saw Michelle. She works here. His smile faded. Seriously? What did she say? Not much, just sad things. She looked rough. Eric nodded slowly. Well, I hope she finds peace. I don't wish her harm. Me neither, Lily said. But I can't carry her weight anymore. They checked out at another register and walked to the car. Amelia stirred in Lily's arms, blinking up at the light. It's okay, baby, Lily whispered. Your life will be different. That night, after Amelia had fallen asleep, they unpacked groceries and settled on the couch. Lily was quiet for a while, then spoke. Michelle used to live in this house, and now she's behind a register, and I'm here, with you, our daughter. It's like we switched timelines. Eric nodded. Maybe that's life's way of teaching us not to betray people who love us. Later in bed, as they listened to Amelia softly breathing in the next room, he pulled Lily close. The world was far from perfect, but they had something solid, each other, and a child who tied them to the future. The next morning, Lily made breakfast while Eric prepped for work. They promised each other they wouldn't dwell on the past anymore. What mattered now was raising Amelia, staying close, and protecting the life they had built. The sun poured into the kitchen. Lily added wood to the fireplace, smiling at the crackling sound. She heard Amelia babbling in her crib and felt a warmth bloom inside her. Happiness didn't feel out of reach anymore. It lived here in their small Baton Rouge home, in the quiet routines, the baby's laugh, the shared strength. They had walked through grief, betrayal, and loss. And they had come out holding hands. There would be hard days ahead, tantrums, sleepless nights, job stress. But at the heart of it all was a promise they never stopped repeating. We'll get through it together. Years later, when Amelia was old enough to ask how her parents met, Eric and Lily would tell her only what mattered. That life is unpredictable. People make mistakes, and forgiveness opens the door to second chances. And somewhere out there, if Michelle ever glimpsed them, laughing in the yard, their daughter running toward them with a painted rock or wildflowers, maybe she'd understand. She once had the same chance, but took a different road, and there's no going back.